Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. We are live Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And today, we will be continuing to talk about the steps to an authentic you, part 2. I'm your host and part 2. So learn how to discover who you really are, what you feel, what you need, and what you want, and then be able to express them to others in healthy, appropriate ways. When you are living authentically, you can have healthier and joyful, loving relationships with others and create an inspired and empowered life. Together, let's create a life you love. I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive breakthrough expert. And I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to inspire and transform you to create an inspired and empowered life. This show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. So the first thing, as I talked about, let's talk about the being authentic, and being real. So what does that really mean? And what it really means is being true and authentic to you. It's really following the guidance of the deeper part of you, that part of you that knows who you really are at the deepest level of your being. And I see that we have Allie in the house. Good morning, Allie. And it's really being true to yourself, being true to what your feelings, what your thoughts, what is true for you, and not letting anyone prevent you or interfere with what you know is true for you. And it's learning to have the courage to be you no matter what. And most of us grew up thinking and feeling it wasn't okay to be ourselves. And so now this is about you breaking free and breaking out. And that's what we're talking about. I did a rhyme and I didn't even mean it. Anyway, I also want to get to questions and comments from last week's show. So I am hoping that we have Misty and Anastasia in the house. Anastasia. Okay, so first of all, last week we were talking about conversations, and we were talking about different kinds of conversations to have. Now, a lot of people like to have conversations while they're in the car. As long as you have hands free, you're okay. And that's fine to have a conversation in the car. And I know what it's like. If you're driving a long distance, sometimes it just really helps to pass away the time. And then I talked. So Misty said, we have some of the best conversations in the car while driving long distances with others in the car. Okay, so she's driving long distances with others in the car and she's having great conversations, which whether you're on the phone and you're doing hands-free or you're with other people and you have amazing conversations, totally want to support that. This is about finding the best ways to connect. And then I was and we were talking about multitasking versus not multitasking. And I was talking about having conversations where you are not multitasking and you're really very present and grounded and in the moment. And Anastasia asked, can you tell us more about those conversations? And those conversations, Misty, before I get into those conversations, Misty says, fun times most of the time. Thank you, Misty. And that's good. It's like, this is what it's about. It's about connecting with others and having fun times. The conversations that I was talking about, I called them healing conversations. So Misty's talking about fun conversations, okay? And fun conversations are really cool. And it doesn't mean healing conversations don't have to be fun, but there's a little different energy. And what I mean by that is a healing conversation is very often when you are needing to confront somebody or talk to somebody about something that's happening for you, feelings that are coming up, or something that you noticed, or they need to talk to you. And now I've talked about scheduling time where it's convenient for both of you so that you can both be present. If somebody is watching TV and they're really not present with you, then that is not a good time to start those healing conversations. So the healing conversations are when you can both be fully present and you look into each other's eyes and start off with, what is it that you acknowledge about each other? What is it that you care about or that you love about each other? And you may be able to do that or you may not. But the most important thing with a healing conversation is you're bringing up, you want to bring up the truth. And if you can, bring up a positive and then go into what is occurring for you. And remember, you want to focus on their behavior, not who they are. You never want to attack somebody. It's about focusing on the behavior and not who they are. And so when you did this behavior, I felt such and such when this behavior happened or when you did this. So for example, a very common one is you text someone and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting for the answer and they don't answer you. And so then what happens for you, and let's say you're waiting for an answer because you need to make plans with them or make plans with someone else, but you need an answer from this person and they don't answer you. And so what happens is you get triggered or activated, and then you start thinking, why are they not doing that? What's happening? I can't believe it. And all these things are running in your head. And you really don't know the truth of what happened. So you decide, you say, and then there's actually the pattern that's happening in the relationship. Let's say you are trying to talk to them and and you're on the phone and they're distracted and you can hear all these noises in the background and you want to have a conversation, but you can feel that they're not really present. And then maybe even when you're together in person, maybe they're watching TV or they're on their phone, looking at their phone instead of looking at you. So there is a pattern in the relationship where you're feeling something. So let's say, and you've done your work before the conversation, okay? So you've tapped into what's coming up for you, all right? And what you realize is it feels like the bottom line is you feel like you're not being heard or validated or respected, and it's really hurting. And so, what happens in a healing conversation is I feel, and now remember, this is a conversation with someone who you want to be more connected with, who that you want their intimacy and the connection to grow. If it's a close friend or someone that you want to get to know better, but you've been noticing this pattern. If it's someone who is a coworker or something like that, you're not going to want to share your deeper feelings. Or if it's someone that you're not particularly feeling safe with at the time, then you may not want to share deeper feelings about what's coming up for you. So what happens is you share, I feel really hurt, unheard. I don't feel heard. And I feel even at times disrespected when we are connecting because I feel like I watch and be specific with the behaviors. I watch, I can on the phone, when we're on the phone, I hear all these noises in the background. And then I get distracted and it's hard for me to be present. So I have a sense that, but you don't want to put anything in their mouth. So just stick with you. And I also when I'm texting you and then I don't get a response back, especially when I need to know plans. And then when we're with each other, I notice that you're busy on the phone and you're not really present with me or you're not connecting with me. And I feel really hurt. Or I feel and it just I really, and what I really want is I really want to feel more connected with you. I really want us to grow together and be more connected. And so, and I see the question come in, thank you, Anastasia. And so that is the kind of like that is what you want to become aware of. And then and hopefully the other person can hear you and you can have a healthy conversation where both of you are expressing. Now, ideally, let's say the person says, okay, I hear that you really are not feeling heard and that at times you feel really disrespected when I'm not answering you or when I'm busy doing something on the phone. And I am going to work on being more present in our relationship. That would be a healthy outcome to the conversation, to the healing conversation. And that's what you're going for. That's what you want. And hopefully the other person can go there with you. Now, Anastasia says, what is the best way to recognize the pattern, recognize these patterns. So the best way to recognize these patterns is to start noticing in your relationships if there's someone where you're feeling angry at often, or if there is like really starting to look at, now this is where being your authentic self comes in. When you're connecting with who you really are, and you're starting to go deeper into understanding what your needs are, what your feelings are, and realizing that another person now, and I really want to make this clear, there is no one person who can ever satisfy all your needs. It's not possible. And if you are looking to one person to satisfy all your needs, that's you setting yourself up for disappointment and expectations. Now, however, in a relationship, there's always give and take, and you want a balanced relationship. So if you find that you're constantly giving, and perhaps you're feeling like you're giving more than you're receiving, then you need to look at that imbalance. Or if you find that you're feeling angry, and you feel angry at the person a lot of the time, or a good amount of the time, it's starting to look at what is creating this anger? What am I angry at? And starting to figure out for you, now this has nothing to do with the other person. Right now, it's about you discovering what's going on for you, because the first piece of a healthy conversation is uncovering what is going on for you, what is being triggered. And then you can bring the conversation to the other person once you've kind of unraveled it and processed it. So the best way to recognize the patterns is if you notice that someone on a regular basis is, let's say, not paying attention to you, or not really being present with you, or is very distracted a lot of the time when you're connecting, and it feels really uncomfortable with you. Now, that's one thing. There may be other patterns that are going on in the relationship. Now, I also want to remind you, the present person is not only themselves, but when you get triggered, they are triggering someone from your past when you were growing up. More likely as a child, and more likely as a parent, a mother, a father, or a caretaker, they could be triggering the same pattern. Now, and if you really want to heal the relationship, even though they may be triggering the same pattern, it still means that you want to bring it up to them. Because to me, healthy relationships are two individuals that are willing to hear each other, and willing to grow together, and willing to admit mistakes or their vulnerabilities, so that the relationship can continue on in healthy ways. And so it's starting, to recognize the patterns, if you see behaviors that keep happening again and again, where they're definitely triggering you, there's two pieces there. There's one piece that they're triggering something old, and this is an opportunity for you to heal so that you can connect more deeply with your authentic self. And two, about working on healing the relationship in present time, because you want healthier relationships. When you're in relationships with people, more likely than not, you have been drawn together so that they are satisfying, or you want them to satisfy some type of unconscious, subconscious need. Okay. So, and I see Charles has a question. I will be answering that very shortly, Charles. And so hopefully, Anastasia, tell me if there's any other questions and if that was helpful. And I want to go into, so people are satisfying that unconscious need. So you want to discover what is being triggered by another person. And then the next thing is to work on healing the relationship and moving it to another level so that both of you are feeling more loving, and the relationship is getting healthier and better. Thank you, Anastasia. Glad she said it was helpful. Thank you. All right. So I want to just define, because I used a few terms. And if you're listening for the first time, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So the conscious mind, your conscious mind is the part of you that tuned in, whether you're tuning in live or you're tuning in at another time. Thank you, conscious mind of yours. Okay. Because you made a decision to tune in. Now, and you could have been drawn on a soul level to tune in. That's your authentic part. You were guided intuitively, and you listened to your intuitive feeling, thinking, knowing. And that was your conscious mind that made the decision. And when you make an empowered decision, you can feel it. It feels good. It feels inspiring and it feels empowering. You know you're on the right track. And that's your conscious mind, making very clear conscious decisions. Now, very often, decisions are ruled by the unconscious and subconscious mind. A lot of times I talk subconscious, so I use them interchangeably. Your subconscious, unconscious mind is the part of you from the moment you were conceived to present time, has recorded every moment, every breath that you have been alive. And that includes not only this lifetime from when you were younger, because a lot of our stuff happens before we're even age 10, believe it or not. And then there's past life memories, and there's memories, or there's ancestral memories and ancestral patterns that can still trigger you. And usually what happens with an ancestral pattern is you notice a pattern in your family with your mother or your father, and then the next thing you know, oh my gosh, you're repeating the pattern. And the most important thing that you can do is having awareness. Wherever the pattern came from, is having that awareness, starting to notice, starting to become even more conscious and aware of those patterns. And that's also part of what Anastasia was asking about. How do you recognize them? The more conscious and aware you become, the more connected with that authentic self, you start recognizing patterns that you may not have been able to recognize before. And so it's really an important piece for you to recognize those patterns and know it's part of your journey. And remember, this is a journey. Okay, it's not an ongoing destination. It's an ongoing destination, but it's not like, oh, this is it, you've got it, you're done. We are always growing, always changing, always moving, growing, expanding. So now I know we have a question from Charles. Let's put the question up. Why do humans seek one person if no one person can fill all their needs? Do you see this as being a flaw in the thinking? Charles, so what I really feel is that it's not really, it's actually, I will tell you from caveman days, it's actually a biological function. Okay. Humans came together, and here's the thing, there are societies and cultures that have polyamory, and I'm not talking about that. But I do think that when it comes to romantic relationships from caveman days, it was to promote and to keep the species going. Now, and here's the thing, in our culture, it's always all about love, romantic love. That's the thing. And listen, romantic love is amazing. And I also want you to know, having one person in an intimate romantic relationship can actually be the key to amazing and powerful healing, growth, and change. And there's a word, and you can have this with friends too, close, intimate friends. But there's something that takes it to another level in a close, intimate relationship. A person that perhaps you're living with, or that there's something. And I love the saying, I don't know where exactly it came from, into intimacy, into me I see. And that's what happens when you have a close relationship with a romantic partner or very close friends, because I also want you to know, close friends can also be part of that. It's having a very close connection with another person where you learn about yourself and you learn about them, and together, like in a romantic relationship, you grow together. That is ideally what you want. You want a relationship that's going to help you to transform. And if you notice, the healthiest relationships, all relationships, whether they are romantic or friendships, is they bring out the best in you. They bring out, and it doesn't mean all the time, okay? Because we all are human, we all make mistakes, but they bring out the best in you most of the time. And that's what you want to look at. That's what you really want to look at when it comes to relationships. And so there isn't, it's not a flaw. I think that it's a possibility, a potential, because when you have that special connection with one person, the intimacy can grow. And that's what you want. And that's those healing conversations. Because in order to be authentic and be authentic in a relationship, you need to have those hard conversations so that the relationship can become and grow and be more authentic itself. You want authentic relationships. And if you cannot have authentic relationships with certain people or a person, then they may not be someone that you are meant to stay connected with. So it's really, again, going inward, looking at what's being triggered, looking at your patterns, and also as you get to know yourself better. Like, for example, I was talking about being in a relationship where you didn't feel heard. That could be one of your core patterns, because when you were growing up, you did not feel heard by your mother, by your father, by both, or by a caretaker. And if that's a pattern for you, you will probably unconsciously, subconsciously draw to you people that have the same type of energy, so that I believe that you can work on it. On a soul level, you are destined to heal that pattern so that you can feel heard, you can feel seen, you can feel and become more of who you are. and be who you are. So that's the power of connecting with that, with one person. And so hopefully, Charles, that was helpful. And if you have any other questions about that, let me know. And I see we have something came in from Country Corners Gazette. I will get to them in a moment. Before, I just want to share with you that I have something called an intuitive decision-making meditation. So maybe you're wondering what is a pattern that I need to learn about. Maybe you're wondering, how can I tune into this pattern? I really want to recognize it, but I don't know how. I don't know. So with the intuitive decision-making meditation, what you can do is you calm yourself down. You're clearing your energy and you're connecting. Now, I didn't bring in the superconscious mind. The superconscious mind is that part of you that is your higher self, the wise, unconditionally loving part, your soul, and the universe. And so you bring in your higher self, and then you ask and allow the answer to come. And it may come in the moment or it may come later. But if you get in touch, this could be a tool for you to help you to grow, to understand. And I also have it in a PDF version, just in case you don't want to listen to it, but you want to read it. So go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com, the name of the show, inspiredandempoweredliving.com /meditation. MEDITATION. So inspiredandempoweredliving.com /meditation. So, and hopefully this will help you get more clarity and understanding and guidance. So inspiredandempoweredliving.com /meditation. Okay. So I know we have a question that came in from Country Corners. Seems people carry a lot of baggage that they didn't even pack. Why are we burdened with all that past? So, yes, it is true. It is true that we are, I don't even want to say burdened, even though sometimes it may feel like a burden. How about we change it and look at it as an opportunity? So, yeah, it can feel like a burden sometimes because it's, why do I have all my ancestral stuff? Why do I have all my past life stuff? And know that if your family, your ancestors could clear it, they would clear it, but they didn't even know it existed. And you have an opportunity. Think about this, okay? For whatever reason, let's just say on some level, not just, I know this is true. I believe this, so you could take this or leave this. I believe that we came to this planet, and before we came in, we made soul contracts. And we made decisions to be born into the family that we're in, to be born into we are the soul. And so we made decisions to become more awake and aware and alert in our life. And I really want to acknowledge all of you that are here now, because you are saying yes to you, and you are saying yes to being more aware, more in alignment with who you really are. So congratulations. I really want to let you all know that. And so sometimes it feels like this burden of we have all this stuff to let go of for our soul and our with past lives or our ancestors. But on some level, we did choose it before we came in. Now, yes, it may seem like a lot, but it also is this opportunity to open to a whole new level of awareness and discovery, self-discovery. So you are at choice how you choose to look at it. So you can choose to continue to look at it as a burden, or you can start reframing it and saying, okay, and I'm not saying it doesn't sometimes feel heavy, because I really want to validate your feelings, okay? And that sometimes it can feel really heavy and overwhelming because it brings up all the other feelings because they're all connected. But it's an opportunity to free yourself on whole new levels. And so I'm going to give you an example. So I have health challenges, and some of those health challenges are from trauma from, okay, all right, good. And some of those health challenges are coming from this lifetime. Some are coming from my soul, and some are coming from my ancestors. And so I keep working on the health challenges, every level of it. And what's happened is, okay, what's happened is I can feel the gratitude of my soul and my ancestors for being the one to, because I have the privilege or the opportunity to do that, because I'm aware of it. I'm able to do it. And my soul and my past lives and my ancestors are really grateful. And that's what I choose to remember. And so it's a decision. It's a decision on how you choose to look at it. And Charles says, I see. So I'm glad that was helpful for you too, that answer. And Country Corners Gazette says, new way of looking at things. Excellent. Glad that I could support you in looking at things in this new way, and know that as you look into things in the new way. So how do you know? Okay. How do you know when you are connecting more to your authentic self? Okay. And you know that you're connecting more to your authentic self when you start feeling more peaceful and you start, okay, even like having a realization, like asking the question, for any of you who are asking the questions, and then you get an answer from me, and then you're like, oh, okay, and having a realization or an insight that you didn't have before is actually you opening up to more of your authentic self. When you're like, oh wow, you have the insight, you have the intuition, you have the realization. All of those are ways that you're opening to your authentic self. And you can feel more love when you get in touch with something that has triggered you from the past, and you are able to heal it and work through it within yourself. And then to top that, because sometimes you can work it out with another person and sometimes you need. Now, I'm going to make this distinction. There are times where you don't need to talk to the other person. When you need to talk to the other person, if it's about deepening intimacy, if it's about being able to set limits or boundaries, that's an important thing. If any of those things are happening or the energy in the relationship is blocked, you may need to talk to you probably, and you want the energy to shift to a higher level, then you're going to need to talk to the other person. However, if it could be that maybe you just, or not just, but that you needed to get in touch with the issue so that you can heal it within yourself. And when you heal it within yourself, you actually open up to more of your authentic self. And that's the power of relationships and opportunity of relationships, to show you where you need healing and what needs to be healed, and then to be able to take it to another level. So we will continue, because there's even more that I want to share with you about becoming your authentic self. And what I'd love is all of you to think about all the stuff that we talked about today, and see if there's any other questions, or as you go through your week, anything that comes up that's like, oh, I would like to find out more about that. And so we'll continue to talk more about steps to the authentic you, part 3, next week. So join me for more inspired and empowered living on W4WN.com, Talk4TV.com, my YouTube channel, and you can find the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And so join me next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I am wishing you all an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.